Jama, Jarastafari, man. Welcome back to YouTube, everybody, man. All I got to say, well, here it is, man. Well, you know what it is? Well, that's what it always was. I don't know, trip on it. No, I'm just kidding, man. But here's the truth, people. I'm back. Well, I'm back working on my blog, man, and well, slowly but surely, I'm deciding on which way I want to go with it. Um, I'll just go ahead and discuss what I recently put forward on the blog. You know what I'm saying, man? Uh, I decided to bring drugs to the conversation, and a part of what I stand for and what I see in the world and what I believe in the world, man. Um, we live in a day and age where marijuana is finding an uprising in acceptance and social acceptance. Um, Living in America and living in California, medical marijuana has been legally prescribed since 1996 through Proposition 215. um, when I originally built this blog, you know what I'm saying, man, I had no intention of to direct my work towards marijuana acceptance and marijuana legalization. The truth of Rastafari is that Rastafari is not, it's more than just a practice of faith and of a way of living. It entails the smoking of cannabis and the smoking of ganja. um, in this video, um, these YouTube videos, if anyone comes across them, are just thoughts, and they're just they're thoughts to put forward towards the blog, to build something later on. Um, these are my personal beliefs. These are my personal insights, and this is all just for documentation of 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 Rastafari and what Rastafari means to me, and how Rastafari will accumulate something later and further foremost. But speaking on marijuana, marijuana has been legal as medicine since 1996 in California. Now in America, we see different things happening, and such forth of full legalization of marijuana as being a trade crop in sense of corporate tax and corporate barter of selling the plant in mass distribution and through corporate distribution, instead of personal grower forward to a medicine club like we have here in California. Um, I recently posted a blog post on my blog, inciting where I was going to take forward my work and where I was going to put forth my study. Um, as I am interested in psychedelic talk and I'm interested in knowing the latest clinical studies of psychedelic research, my what I'm falling for is ancient literature and ancient wisdom. I like studying history. I'm a historian in essence, but I take my history to legend. I take my history to myth. I take my history to stories that have been lost and seldomly unrecovered over time. With that said, this correlates into what some people might recognize as Illuminati wisdom of what pop culture would reference Egyptian wisdom, and that is my goal to dig into and to bring forward to the people of what Illuminati really stands for, and what Egyptian wisdom really means, and what occult mysticism really holds. And that's where I'm going to be directing my studying, and well, I have a lot of studying to do. But slowly but surely, I will be building lectures in the future, and that's where it will begin. Because Rastafari essentially is the evolution to this wisdom, and it entails, well, we got to start at the beginning, and Egypt is the beginning. But with that said, it's always good, as a writer and as an independent researcher, to have options. Um, Anyone who engages in self and these kind of studying and this kind of work, it allows for the mind to accumulate obsession over what you're doing. Um, but to have two areas to work alongside and to study, it gives you a branch, if you know what I'm saying, Mon, of work to recognize what you're looking for and to give you a reference and to give you a, an area of taking your mind off one thing and taking uh, your mind to another thing. So it's a flip back in your studying, and that's why I'm accumulating and I'm keeping drug research alongside my work. um, I just want to go back to marijuana and keep this on marijuana for now. Um, but marijuana is something that people have very, personal stance on. You either are one that used to smoke marijuana and it is what it is. You're one that may have never smoked marijuana and you just don't believe in it. And two, you might be a marijuana smoker for life and you believe in its medicinal purposes and value. And or you might be a devout marijuana smoker and you take it to faith and you're practicing Rastafarian. Um, which in case I believe Rastafari is something that is is something that people can look upon and realize that it's more than just smoking cannabis, and that's my goal. However, I stand behind smoking ganja as being medicine, and I believe that there's points to be proven in our day and age, in our day century of evolution of modern medicine, that marijuana can be professionally prescribed in psychiatric treatment and in chronic illness and pain and whatnot, which will be later for the dug in further and looked into more specifically. Um, so what are psychedelics? I posted a blog what psychedelics really are in a definition sense. Um, this is where we engage and look in life of where the mind can go and where the mind can realm itself. um, Essentially a psychedelic is a mind manifesting drug. um, uh, and you can trip on it and say, well, man, manifestation, man, well, it's the expansion of mind, man, and well, that would be the wisdom behind it. So if you take a psychedelic substance, you're expanding your consciousness, and uh, many people may not refer to marijuana as a psychedelic, but marijuana cannot be denied as a psychoactive um, natural plant, which carries two chemicals, two reoccurring active chemicals that have a psychoactive property to the mind, and that's THC and CBD. I can't go into uh, long chemical names, but those are the abbreviations. Um, but I'll later forward put the chemicals online. Um, so now you have a plant that, which is interesting. How long has the history of marijuana? No one's digging up the history of marijuana. Um, Marijuana has grown pretty, from what I know, pretty fairly across the world, and now with hydroponics, can be grown indoors anywhere. Um, but thinking off that, that'd be interesting to go back and see how long has marijuana been around on Earth. No one's really been able to prove that, and it's been something. I'll see what kind of literature is out there to say what kind of research is able to dig up, because that's history that's intriguing and I think needs to be known on how long ganja has been being smoked. And obviously we can look back into the 1970s and see its research. Well, readily available of consumption in Western civilization. But people don't really know much before that. I know um, farther east and Eastern culture, Middle East, it's marijuana is not grown in that kind of humidity. Um, it's usually formally, I guess it's extracted into hashish. No, no, not hashish. Hash. Hashish is tobacco. Um, but it still has to be grown, so that makes no sense. That means how they cultivate it. Um, it's something that America's really been being proven on, if you know what I'm saying, on um, that we live in what America calls a democracy, and how we are built upon state legislation. So we have federal law and we have state law, and how state law is deciding for themselves on where they want to take this direction. Um, Offhand, I can say Oregon and Colorado are two states that have fully legalized marijuana. I think there's one or two other ones. I'm not sure. I know Oregon and Colorado have fully legalized marijuana. As of California has kept it medicinal, and there's other states that have it readily medicinal. Um, I'm learning as I dig into this insight that it's intriguing on why and how. And I have a focus on Colorado, where I'm gonna take time to start building a perspective on the differences of a medicinal marijuana and fully legalized marijuana. So I'm gonna build a research on California and how it's been kept in California and the different propositions and the um, different views in the past, um, in perspective to Colorado, because there's something people don't know, man, that full legalization of marijuana might not be the perspective and view of what a true ganja believer or a true ganja smoker would really want. Um, you don't. If I had my ideal, man, it wouldn't be a plant that got taxed corporately by government. Now, are you going to be able to, or do we live in a day and age where any produced plant can be fully legalized and not have um, uh, taxation and government rule upon it? Your wishful thinking, but it's intriguing they haven't taken it to California yet, and there's a reason they haven't because of what kind of culture it could incite and what kind of environment it can incite. And that would bring yourself back to an Amsterdam, which I'm going to bring Amsterdam in the picture as well. So that's where I'm going to take my psychedelic study, and I'm going to start with marijuana. And I'm going to forward this video to Maps, and I'm going to take a break on studying ancient Hermeticism right now because I don't have readily available the literature I need right now. So I'm gonna do simple, well, it's simple, but um, I'm gonna do some studying on drug research of marijuana to begin with, and I'm gonna focus some time with that. Um, with that said, it's gonna I can only build so much material on on, on an individual basis. But this is going to be an anal an anal an analyst of 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 of, of different um, different land of how marijuana is treated and how is it best treated appropriately. And hopefully this allows for insight that can be taken forward from individual minds and um, other organizations that are intrigued by what I can gather. So marijuana is what we're gonna focus on because it's been a cat and mouse game of people who don't need to be behind bars for this plant. People don't need to be charged money for this plant. People don't need to get one part of the world someone can see jail time for marijuana, in the other part of the world someone can freely smoke marijuana. And I mean, doesn't that just say everything about your world? It's a time that we gather our minds and and forward a new way of thinking. So that's where I'm going with my study, and I'm gonna write essay. I'm gonna write some literature, and I'll forward more documentation, uh, via just YouTube videos for right now. All right, you know what's best. Jah Rastafari, Jah man. You already know, man. God bless, man.